Hi, I'm Nadia Dunn, your host of CCL's More Than Packages podcast. But who are CCL? CCL are an independent and neutral third-party logistics service provider and custom clearance specialist. From e-concept to e-logistics for e-commerce, CCL has the e-solution. This is episode 2, and joining me are Tom Ross-Joannou and Stephen Clark from Triangle Events. And from our CCL team, we have Business Development Associate Director Jason Lee. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you all?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you enjoying lockdown 3?
Yeah, this one's been a bit harder, I think, on most people. I think mainly because of the winter season. You know, it's cold, it's miserable out there anyway, and having a lockdown imposed on you as well has made things a lot more challenging, I think, for a lot of people. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a bright 2021.
Yes, aren't we all?
Now, in this episode, we're all going to be sharing some thoughts around future insights in freight forwarding, marketing, and of course, post and parcel market. Now, Tom, could you start us off and give us a little bit of background around Triangle
And explain the difference between Triangle and post and parcel.
Absolutely, yeah, no problem. So Triangle Management Services is a sort of a business provider for the mail and express industry, so the post and parcel sector. We've been established now as a company for over 3 decades, since 1984. And we specialise in doing high-level events, conferences and awards, along with a media portfolio, which is the Mail Express Review, our magazine that comes out quarterly. And on top of that, our daily news and information website, which is Post and Parcel, which is the difference. So Post and Parcel is essentially a product of our portfolio. We also specialise in research and consultancy for the industry. So pretty much everything that the sector needs in terms of finding out business information, we provide. The Post and Parcel brand over the last year has extended its reach from not just being a news and information website, but also a online digital event portfolio as well, which is what we have been doing since lockdown and COVID started back in March.
Excellent, thank you. And Stephen, can you just give us a flavour of the history of the company and what do Post and Parcel actually cover?
Yeah, so I've been with the company for the last 5 years. So a brief spell, if you will, in terms of the 3 decades that they've been around. But we are, like Tom said, we are specialists in providing high-level events. We have media channels and we have a dedicated research team for the whole scope of the kind of post and parcel industry.
Okay, great. And with the COVID over the last year, how has that affected your business?
It's been an interesting one. I'd say back in at the start of 2020, we put on one of our most successful events, live events that we have done in our history, which was the WMX Americas conference that took place in February. I know CCL were there as a sponsor. We had a record number of people there. And, at the time, we remember, obviously hearing about this terrible virus that was spreading throughout China. And we unfortunately lost a couple of delegates to that because at the time, the American president, who's now left, wouldn't let anyone from China come into the States. So we were, a little bit surprised at that, but we lost a few Chinese delegates. We had a couple of delegates from Brazil also sort of worrying about it and cancelling their travels. And at the time, we were like, well, why are they overreacting about this? We put the event on, and as I said, it was a brilliant event. And 2 weeks later, the world had changed completely. So it turned out it wasn't just a virus that was spreading over China, but it became a pandemic very, very quickly.
And presumably that was your last live event?
It was, yes. So I guess, the positive thing from our perspective was we reacted fairly quickly. You know, coming back from Miami, we started looking at doing sort of innovating and changing the way we do things. Because I think essentially, especially on the events industry, you've got to do in a crisis like this. You have to do one of three options. You either evolve your events and change them, you cancel your events or you postpone them. Now, we believed at the time, after a couple of conversations internally, that the best opportunity was to go online. That at the time, that was, it was a big decision, but the team had all gone home and we were all working from home, and we brought everything online, and it was kind of exciting. It was very new for us because we'd never done this before. We were used to doing, as I said, over 3 decades, we've been used to doing these live events, and we created our first one in June, which was, a huge success in our opinion. And since then, now we've done 3 of them, which have all been successful in their own rights. Now, the positive for doing that as a company was that because we made that decisive decision at the start, and following off a really successful live event in Miami, we were able to stay afloat. Now, equally, our news portfolio, Post and Parcel, has seen a huge increase in readership. And again, with that has come support from that for advertisers and sponsors. Because, our readership on Post and Parcel has doubled since March. So that's another positive that's come from it all, because more people are looking at news and information that's going on in the industry. And equally, our research department now is starting to see a lot more people trying to dive into the sector now and find out a little bit more about different markets. So the research side, again, equally is starting to see, an increase in business. So as a company, there's been a lot of positives. Obviously the negatives have been losing the live events, because obviously you can't, the live events generate a huge amount. We have delegates coming along, and that brings in a revenue that we haven't been able to achieve on virtual ones. But, again, we were decisive at the start of 2021 to make the decision to keep all our events until at least the summer as virtual ones. So our Americas conference, which was our live event this year, will take place virtually. Same with our European event, and the same with our awards. And then we hope in the end of 2021 to go back to a live event again with our Asia event. But we just have to watch the market. We have to understand what's going on, because at this stage, no one can guarantee live events for this year, especially. So for business, it's helped us kind of innovate a bit more. We are having a fairly okay year. I'd say, obviously, the costs have come down dramatically because we haven't been doing physical events, but obviously the revenue has also gone down quite a lot from live events. But as a business, I think that all those decisive decisions we've made has helped us to stay where we are and keep the industry moving, keep the industry talking to each other. And we're very positive about the future when it does return back to normal, because we've created a new portfolio of products that can help us grow even further, I think.
Yeah, from making those quick decisions at the beginning, I think that's what it's down to, isn't it? And trying to be one step ahead all the time.
Absolutely.
Stephen, Tom mentioned how your readership has gone up. When the live events restart, do you think that the readership is then going to be affected? And do you have anything in place for that?
I wouldn't say so, because in the grand scheme of things, knowledge is power. And I think what it's actually done during these COVID times is that it's kind of forced people to stay connected to the industry. So what they've done is they've looked at digital outlets, digital channels to get their daily fix on industry news and insights. And I hope that our readers see the value of staying up to date with what's going on globally around the world, so that when live events do come back, they get the best of both worlds in terms of being able to network live face-to-face with people, but also stay up to date with the digital news and the magazine that we've got as well.
Absolutely, and I'm sure everyone is looking forward to that point when we can all mix again and join those events again. Jason, tell us, you've been to the live and the virtual events with these guys. Tell us a bit about those and the difference between the two.
Yeah, so, CCL has been really benefiting from joining this network I think it has been going on for longer than I have ever been in CCL, because I've only been 6 years. So I think it's a long-standing relationship. And I think CCL has gained a lot of business out of it. From joining the physical events, of course, it's very, I think the organization is very well done, and you meet a lot of people, especially the peers, because CCL, we are specialized in e-commerce, and most of our customers are, post operators, parcel operators. So I think this is probably one of the most appropriate network for us to join, and the best event for us to join. So yeah, we do get to meet a lot of people and get to talk to them in person. I think that then enable you to establish a relationship quite quickly. So that's the benefit of face-to-face meetings. And also, they've organized those presentations, which are very informative, give you the news and insights of the industry. So that's a very good way to, to learn more about the industry, to learn what's going on, learn what the competitors are doing. I think with the virtual event, I was quite impressed when they first, get it out of the market, because I was like, oh, this is a really quick turnaround. And then we were quite excited to join the event, of course. As usual, we sponsored the event. I think we were a silver sponsor. I think the purpose, of course, is to gain more exposure for CCL. We want to maintain that presence in the industry as the what we call market leaders. And then I think with a virtual event it's very unique, it's very special, because we have never, that's our first event we've ever attended as well. So we don't really have any experience. We don't know how. I think it takes a while to get a hand of it. And then I personally, I like the exhibition hall, where you can see, all the brands that's sponsored the event, and you can just go and check them out. And of course, CCL is there, and they provide the data, who has been visiting your stand and stuff like that. And also they give you a space for some video. If you want to have a video presentation, you can do that as well. So I think that's very useful. And also you can check who is online, and you can click onto them and have a chat with them. So I think in general it's a very positive experience with the virtual event.
Yeah, excellent. I guess it's almost like another extension of your social media platform, the kind of chatting and being able to bring that into your business and make it work for you and your company.
Yes, exactly.
Tom, can you tell us about your virtual event next month?
Absolutely, yes. So as explained, the WMX Americas conference, it's one of our largest events to this day as a physical event. So what we have, obviously now we've done 3 virtual events with Post and Parcel Live brand. We decided to now bring our WMX portfolio online as a virtual platform instead. It was always the strategy. Again, last year, our plan was to essentially, if we were able to do physical events, we were going to run them as a hybrid kind of option, which would allow both the virtual and physical available to give people a choice, but with the option then to switch it completely virtually if we needed to. Now, obviously, when we got to the first week of January, when we came back from Christmas, that decision was made quite quickly based on what's going on in the world and how there's new variants coming around and everyone's going back into lockdown, that we were simply not ready to go back to this type of environment yet. So we made that decision then to, rather than to string people along and say, look, we still plan to be physical, we made the decision at that point to just move it completely virtually. Now, the response has been really quite positive. So the difference, I guess, what we're trying to do with this one and the Post and Parcel Live brand, the Post and Parcel Live brand essentially had a bigger European kind of attendance coming to the event. Now, our plan here is to make this feel as much as we can as an Americas conference. So we're running it in the right time zone to attract more of the Americas to come in, along as obviously with the internationals, because we still see that as such an important part of the event, bringing cross-border contact. Now, as I said, the support has been brilliant. We've had a lot of really interesting people come on board, including CCL as sponsors. I'd say we're probably now only a few exhibition booths away from being completely full, which, again, it kind of follows the same model as a live event, which is wonderful. And, our attendees, we expect to gain a similar attendance to one of our other virtual events, sort of around about 1,000 registered delegates, with about 600 to 700 actually attend on the day. Which would, again, that if you base that on a live event, that's about 3 times as much of attendance that we'd normally get at one of those. So, for us, it's exciting. It's nothing new to us now. This will be our 4th virtual event in the last 12 months.
You're experts.
I wouldn't like to say we're experts, but I would say that we know what we're doing. And we know what we know all the challenges that these virtual events have, and I feel like we're in a much stronger position to do it in a much smoother way. So we're excited about it. We're really looking forward to it. We're pleased to have CCL and all our other sponsors on board, and we hope to give them an experience as good, if not better, than our live event.
Stephen, have you found that while these events have been being set up, that the industry has come together? Like Tom, you mentioned how, you've had a really, really good feedback and you've had lots of sponsors coming forward. Have you found that, everyone is going through a really hard time at the moment, businesses and personally, and actually the industry are really pulling together to make things like this happen?
Yeah, as we've seen from the numbers of attendees, there is a real appetite to play a part in these virtual things. And I think there is a great appreciation to sponsors like CCL who help power these events, because without them, we wouldn't be able to offer free entry to our audience. So I believe that, I think the industry is coming together during these times, because everyone wants to understand what on earth the industry is doing during the pandemic, because this industry in one way is flourishing because of the need for delivery.
Yeah, I guess we're all in it together, in that no one knows what the next step is, no one knows what will happen, and I think everyone kind of coming together and working through it is how we're moving forward. Jason, what are you looking forward to seeing at the next event?
I do the next event. Well, I think usually we're just looking to gain as much business as possible.
Always.
No, well, I think are you talking about the physical event?
No. The WMX.
Oh, right. Sorry, the virtual one. Yeah. So I think as usual, we're looking to sponsor the event. To continue to have that presence in the market.
You're not looking to, you are sponsoring it.
Yeah, we are.
It's signed, sealed, delivered.
Yes, that's a fact. So we are sponsoring the event.
It's too late to back out now.
Yeah. I think from the previous experience, although it's generally very positive, I think because it's online, it's virtual, it's a little bit more difficult to make people commit to, for example, a meeting or something like that. When it's a physical event, if you set up a meeting, you just go there and you meet the people. But I think with the virtual events, it's very hard. Although you've booked a meeting, but somehow they could just not appear or there's no show. So I think I'm looking to see if there is going to be any change on that and any improvement on these things. And of course, I'm also looking forward to gain more market information from the especially I like the presentations that you've got there from all the industry leaders. So it's very interesting to look at those things as well.
Thank you. Now, Tom, the numbers obviously speak for themselves to the delegates going to your events. Have you spoken to any delegates after and got some feedback on their thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an interesting one. I think looking at, obviously talking about what Steve and Jason just said then, I think the numbers prove that the industry do come together more than they have done before. Now, I think you've got a variety of delegates attending, and their experience is all different. Now, obviously, you've got the attendees that go along that are just desperate to go back to physical events, and they're frustrated, and in a sense they don't give virtual events a go. They turn up, they look around, and then they walk away and say, "Oh, it's not as good as a physical event." Then you get the other delegates who are ones that have never been to live events because their companies don't allow them to. And actually what we're finding now is actually some of the delegates that attend our events online really do appreciate the opportunity to be able to come along because they've never had that before. And, they're getting the opportunity to listen to content that they've never been able to listen to a live event because they can't go.
So do you think that when your live events start, that you'll get extra delegates there for those?
I think there'll be a mixture because when we go back to live, we want to go back to a hybrid approach.
Yeah.
So we then still, kind of allow those people into the event in their own way. So if they can't physically go, they can still attend as a virtual option instead.
Yeah, or making it accessible for everybody.
Yeah, I want to make it a lot more inclusive for delegates now because, as I said, numbers are much higher and there's a reason for that. So it's, overall, I think our delegates, going back to your original question, I've been very positive about it. Now, obviously, as Jason said, the challenge you've got is getting people to network because, networking, the terminology networking is a very big one, really. It's a very vast,
broad.
But it's very broad, exactly. So it's, when you go to one of our live events, you network with people, you have an evening where you have receptions, you have drinks, everyone goes into much more of a social environment afterwards. And that's all classed as networking. Now, obviously, on a virtual event, you don't have that because you don't have all those extra bits involved. So it's trying to, and And Jason, you're right. I mean, when we started off doing this, these virtual events, our first one we tried to do is pre-event meetings scheduler, where you try and involve people to arrange meetings ahead of the event, which we found the uptake was very, very slow because, again, people don't really, although they commit to signing up to a virtual event, they don't necessarily commit as heavily to actually attend. Now, like I said, a live event, if you've got 300-400 people registered to come along, you're most likely to get 300 or 400 of those people attend. With a virtual one, you expect, we've been lucky to have about 60% of those registrations attend, which is apparently quite high for virtual events. Now, the other 40% haven't, they've committed to signing up, but they haven't actually attended. So actually getting people to arrange meetings before is more challenging. So we've tried to take that bit away from it on our last few events. And actually, we found it much more important that when you're online, we want the visibility of who's there. So actually, you can grab them when you're there. And now we have a visual on the platform, our virtual platform, that shows you absolutely everybody who is online at that time, and it also shows you where they are on the exhibition in the event. So if they're in the exhibition hall, if they're on an exhibition stand, if they're in the lobby, if they're in the auditorium listening to the content, you know exactly who those people are, and then you can instantly start a chat with them, and that can be either by messenger, which also we've incorporated a language kind of app into that, which allows you to communicate in every language in the world.
Wow.
So again, that helps just bring everybody together, because obviously, especially with our Americas event, we have so many multi-languages attend that this helps.
So how long did it take you to get to that point with that platform that you're using? Because presumably the first virtual event, you didn't nail that first one with that app or that platform. No. Did it take you a couple to work out how to do it the best way?
I think the first one for us, we used a different platform, and we found it frustrating. I mean, I think it was a good event, but I think the problem we are, as event organisers, and I think this is the difference with virtual events as they started, and how they were back in March, was a lot of these virtual events platforms were used to a different kind of client, which wanted them to create an event for them and build it from scratch. Whereas for us, as an event organizer, we wanted to take control of that. It was our event, and we wanted that control. Now, our first event was quite limited for that. So what it meant was the platform provider created all the content and built it all for us. And it was kind of stressful in a way because we didn't have the control we needed. And at times it was quite heated dealing with them because of that exact reason, because we wanted control, they wanted to work in a certain way, and it made it difficult. So as soon as that event was over, we knew where we'd gone wrong. And the most important thing for us was to gain feedback to just clarify that. And we got feedback which really was very similar to how we felt. So that made it quite simple. We knew where we got everything right, and we knew where we had everything wrong. So we were very quick to then find the right platform that would fix all those problems. So it wasn't too long, really. We launched the next event. So that was in June, and our next event after that was in October. At that point, we moved to a new platform. We had a lot of training of how to build it ourselves. And we worked on our second event. We worked a lot with the platform provider to work together. By the third event, which was just in January, we did it all ourselves.
Well, in many senses, the fact that you've got that translation ability when you have your chats, that's actually better than the virtual events, because you can do it there and then immediately, and you've got the system right there to have a conversation.
Absolutely. I think that's the thing. I mean, it's there's so many challenges when you're at a live event, trying to talk to somebody from Brazil or from somewhere in Latin America where you don't you're having kind of a broken conversation because you don't know their language. And equally, when we're in Asia and doing an event there, it can be challenging from time to time. Whereas with this ability now for them to translate your conversation immediately, that can flow a lot quicker. If you want to then take it to the next step, if you don't feel like there's a language barrier, you can just click a button and start a video chat like this, and that gives you that face-to-face time that people say they don't get at virtual events, because obviously that's important. Obviously Zoom calls or video calls are a lot more intense. You tend to find you're staring directly at somebody rather than what you would do in a physical environment. But my opinion is you can still do the same kind of networking at a virtual event as you can as a live one. You just have to adapt your mindset a little differently.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like you've had a really successful year. Any final thoughts from you guys?
If you want to, I'll go first. I'd say we've learned a great deal since our very first virtual event back in June last year. Our understanding of what's required has strengthened from event to event. And for the most part, a bit like Tom said, this is because of the continued feedback we get from our audience. We've had awesome feedback about our latest platform, but as you know, in the virtual or digital world, things always evolve, and we want to evolve with it.
Yeah, and I guess it's listening to that feedback, the positive and the negative, that's helped push you forward and get you to where you are at the moment, which is great.
Yeah, because Jason made some good points, and I think the way that you need to approach the virtual event is that there are pros and there are cons. The pros is the easy access to seeing who's online at any given time. And okay, you're going to do a quick chat or you're going to try and do a quick video. Sometimes it's not going to come off, but I tell you what, it's still a touch point. And if you're a sales professional like me and Jason, then touch points are valuable, because then at least then your prospect knows that you're looking to get in contact with them. So it's a good way to do outbound, but I don't think you can ever replace face-to-face communication when you're in the same environment, because when you are in the same environment, Jason will tell you, it's a lot easier to build rapport.
Absolutely.
So there are pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I'll give you my final thoughts. I think as I said, I think we're quite positive about 2021 now. It's been, I'd say 2020 was a difficult year for us because it was that kind of working out exactly how we get through this. I feel that we're in that position now where, obviously we're not through this yet, but by being decisive, we know what we're doing. And that's enabling us to communicate with our audience, so they know what we're doing too. Now, there's so many people out there that are wondering, they're almost holding back in terms of making their decisions about things like events or whatever, because they're hoping that there's going to be some wonderful piece of news soon. But the reality, the way I look at it, this could be going on for the next couple of years. We have no idea when a live event is going to take place the way it has done in the past. And even though, even when it does, it always allowed to, the challenge we have as a business is that our events are international. So you're expecting every country around the world to be in the same position. And when we've got that amount of people to be vaccinated or feel comfortable traveling or allowed to travel, it's a huge challenge. So I feel positive about 2021. I know the industry are itching to get back to live events, and I promised everyone that as soon as we can, we will do. But until then, we're very positive about our virtual ones and trying to bring everyone together and give them the opportunity to network and meet new people and listen to new content.
Yeah, and I think the key is being comfortable and ready to adapt to that change is what you're yourselves at Triangle and CCL are there and ready to do a move forward depending on what happens.
Yeah, I think just following what Tom says there, I think we'll just have to stay really positive. You know, we don't know how long this is going to go, and we need to stay positive. I think CCL has had actually a good year last year, and then now we have more new products on the outlook, and we have our road services and our e-turn services. We're looking forward to advertise on the virtual event. So I think it's just stay positive and do what we do and keep doing well.
Great.
Indeed.
Now, Tom, can you tell me what your desert island discs are?
What would you take? What film, book, and track would you take to a desert island?
Interesting. So I have a eclectic mix of music, so I find this one quite challenging to actually find out what's the best track for me would be. I'd have to say it's probably something from my, I used to DJ when I was younger, and I'd
DJ,
probably
TJ.
Wow.
Just getting the brand name back out there.
Yeah.
And I'd have to say, actually, I mean, this is something that me and Steve are quite fond of as colleagues. Is a music band that left, but retired very recently as of last week. Which
very
is
sad.
And I think I wouldn't mind taking a Daft Punk song with me from the back, and probably something right from their first album.
The Funk?
Maybe, I think The Funk would be probably up there in terms of a song that would lift you on desert island and make it pretty noisy. In terms of a book, I'm not a huge reader. So, but there's a book I really did enjoy, which was called Million Little Pieces back in the day, which it's quite an inspiring book. And what I would take with me, I guess I'll probably take some decks with me, and I can DJ there as well.
Excellent. That sounds great. You can listen to Daft Punk all day long.
I'll be DJing on one record.
Yeah.
Well, you're only allowed to take one song with you, so it'd be The Funk on loop.
It definitely wouldn't be your favourite song for very long.
I'll take Apple Music. There you go.
Yeah. Stephen, what about you?
Oh, so film first, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say it, but I love the film Titanic.
That's my favourite.
It's an epic film.
I didn't have you down as a Titanic man, I must say.
No. And then song-wise, well, Tom made a great point that, Daft Punk, who revolutionised electronic music, have retired last week. So I'm going to have to change things up then if he's taken Daft Punk. I'm going to go for old school Insomnia Faithless. Play that every morning whilst I'm on the desert island. And then book-wise, it would have to be the Extremely Successful Salesman's Club by Chris Murray. It's a story about how you can become an awesome salesperson. And the way it's written is just free flowing. It's such an easy, epic read. And the thing with this book is that even if you're not in like the sales profession, you can still take some very valuable tips on how to win friends and influence people going forward. So that would have to be my book of choice.
Excellent. I'll have to look that one up. That sounds great. Jason, over to you.
I didn't know that question would come to me. Well, I think I'll just take my iPhone so I can read my favorite books. Watch any movies I want.
That wasn't the question, Jason. That wasn't the question.
Well, Jason, unfortunately, you would have no connection in the desert island.
Yeah. Right, thank you so much for joining me today, guys, and for being on CCLTV's More Than Packages.
I really look forward to speaking to you all again soon. And remember, take care, and CCL is more than packages.